Okay, so I don't like the wording of string theory because here's a string and it doesn't do anything, right? If you pluck a string, um, it literally doesn't do anything. Let me see if I have a string. Like for example, if this was a string, right? If you pluck it, it it honestly does. That's just the curvature. Like it honestly doesn't move or do anything. That's why I don't like string theory. Like strings, like cotton strings, it doesn't do anything when you pluck at it. So the reason why I like rubber band theory, and I know they're saying like strings of a guitar, but the action is very minimal. Strings go like this. They have a lot of action to it. So you need a rubbery texture to you to have that wide range. Because in string theory, if you move like this, you don't really create that much mass. In order to create mass, you have to be moving wildly. And a rubber band is more accurate. So think of a dimension like a baseball, right? The strings, they're very solid. It's very hard to move a dimension, right? Just up and down, left and right. It's very hard to do that. Imagine being on the ocean floor and trying to push that amount of ocean up. If it was solid, imagine you just, however, 5'6", 120 pounds, trying to push up all of that mass. It's very hard to do. That's what dimensions are. It's a lot of weight going in one direction. So what is a dimension? It's weight in one direction, force in one direction, either up or down. A lot of force. So on an ocean floor, that's a lot of force going down. Okay? So imagine dimension as sitting still. All right? These are dimensions. It's sitting still. It's gonna take a lot of force to pluck at it. And that's how strings move. It shouldn't be moving. Strings are dead. Strings represent death. Just like time arrives, it's dead until time arrives. It is dead until time arrives. Strings are the same way. It is a dead motion. It shouldn't be moving. What is causing it to move? Right? That's a lot of force to cause us to move and become this. That's a lot of force to force this one dimension to move. That's a lot of force. And you're plucking at each one and you have constant motion. That's a lot of force. All right? So what's causing it to move? The dimensions around. Going this way, going that way, going. It's so fast and so much force that it's vibrating the string. Right? So it's not just up and down. It's in all sorts of direction. Force. So it's causing this string that should be dead to suddenly come alive with motion. And it's more like a rubber band where it stretches and it comes back and it stretches and it comes back. It always has that same motion, right? Even if it's moved around, right? So it's moving in this direction, and then suddenly there's a new motion, right? It goes in this direction, and then it goes in this direction. But it always comes back. That's why I like rubber band theory. Because it's more like a rubber band than a string. Because a string doesn't have give, right? There's just no give on a string. It's really stiff. That's why I don't like string theory. I like rubber band theory. It has more give to its texture. It's more like a rubber band, right? So yeah, like, so if it's sitting still, right? Right. Think of it like a glass plate. Like nothing should be causing this thing to move. But the force is so strong, it shatters this notion of death. The force is so strong in one direction and then in multiple directions. The force is so strong, it shatters the notion of death. Right? It's because of motion that death cannot exist. It's because of motion that death cannot exist. It cannot exist because of motion. Motion in one direction is a lot of force, more than you think. Right? This baseball can shatter glass. Imagine light speed. Right? And just infinitely attacking this glass. It will shatter it over time. And in multiple directions, it would shatter that thing fast. That's why in the multiverse, you're born real fast. Because the second you're born, you're touched with all those motion, you're instantly born. That's why when you're born, how long does it take for a fetus to develop? And then how fast does it go once you're in the world? It goes even faster. You grow up even faster. When you're inside the stomach, you're protected from the outside. So you take 6 months to develop. The second you're outside, you see a baby, in 2 months, you see like, whoa, that baby's getting big. In 3 months, you're like, whoa. In 1 year, you're like, what? In 2 years, you're like, you're talking now? In 3 years, you're walking? Like, it grows up really fast because of all the motion outside. That's why in the multiverse, the second a string is born, it attacks it. All that motion attacks that string, and you're just instantly born. Right? The slowed down version is birth. You're protected inside, or your string. The second you're born, quickly vibrates. And you quickly grow up. All right? So when you're born, think of it as you're protected. But then, the second you're born in the multiverse, all that motion comes at you, and it shatters. Well, it shatters your death, and you come alive. All right? So that's why I like rubber band theory more, because it's more like a rubber band, where even the rubber band factor, where it snaps back, and that's a lot of force to be pulled apart and then snap back. That's a lot of force on yourself, and that also creates mass. That's why with the added motion of outside and the motion of being snapped back, like you're being pulled and then you snap back, that motion also makes it born even faster. Without the snapback, no, you still be born really fast. But the snap, it like it works together. Like, you probably be born, but you probably be really dumb. I think that's what it is. The force outside will instantly get you to grow, but that snapback is that constant school. Like, "Bah, go to school, bah, go to school." It's like your parents, just spanking you to go to school. So you're snapping back at yourself to remind yourself, go to school, go to school, go to school, and it makes you smarter. So I like rubber band theory. I don't like string theory. String theory has no, um, it just has no give to it, um, to work. It just doesn't, it doesn't sit well with me. String theory. So yeah. So think of a string like this, very hard and in place, dead. Right? It takes a lot of motion to get the string to vibrate. A lot of force to get the string to vibrate. So think of it like that. Think of it like this. You're born and you're protected, like inside a belly. You're dead. You're born dead, like a fetus. You're born just no real function. You're dead. And it takes a lot of motion to break through. It takes a lot of motion to break through. Same thing with stupidity. Because you're born. Remember, you're a string. You don't know anything. You're very dumb. So that snapback will shatter this as well and make you smarter. So going to school makes you smarter. Going to school makes you smarter. Right? It's the same thing as shattering this death. Stupidity. Going to school shatters death and stupidity. And it makes you smarter. So that's rubber band theory. And that's my example of rubber band theory. A baseball inside of a glass, you're born dead. Just like a fetus, you're just born dead. A fetus is more alive, of course, but just as you're not there, you're not intelligent. And it takes a lot of force coming in every direction to bring you alive. And then it takes your rubber band, it takes your rubber band, the rubber band you're born with, to get pulled and snap back, pull, snap back, pull, snap back, to make you more intelligent, to remind you, go to school, go to school, go to school. You need to learn more about yourself. You need to learn more about yourself. All right, so that's rubber band theory in a nutshell. Think of strings like a baseball. All right, and you are protected by stupidity. You're protected by stupidity, which makes you dead. And then it's the constant motion outside. That's why OCD is bad. You want constant motion coming in that brings you alive. Become human. That makes you become human. And the constant snapping of the rubber band, constant thinking. All right, thinking is like the snap of the rubber band. Like, hey, go to school. Or hey, think about this. So the constant snapping back, or the thinking, is what reminds you to go to school every day. You should be thinking every day. And it makes you smarter. So yeah, that's my rubber band theory. Baseball. Think of strings like a baseball. A very hard, right? Not soft strings, right? This is sewn in. It's not going anywhere, right? Each string is sewn in. It's not gonna budge. Look at the force I'm putting onto it. It won't budge. It takes a lot of force to get this thing to move. A lot. and then become this. It takes a lot of force to get this dead thing to move and become this, where you're in constant motion. The string never stops moving. The string's like the umbilical cord or something. Like it just goes away, and you become. It's not a soul. How do I explain? It's like like a dinosaur to a bird. Like you used to have tails and a fang, but you don't anymore. But you're still the same species. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm still a. So how do I get this to become this? I think that's what you're asking. How does this become this? I don't. It's like building muscle. I know they're like confused. Like, how can it have dimensions? Like, how does a circle become multi-dimensional? So a string starts out like this. It's very flat. And how did you get mass? So this is this. So all three of this, right? All three of this is the same. Think of all three. This flat surface, this 3-dimension, and then this moving thing is all the same. If that makes sense. So this becomes this, becomes this. Does that make sense? So this is the same as this, is the same as this. Like 1 is the same as 2 is the same as 3 or 1 million. It's just a number. Just a number. Does that make sense? Like no matter how big the number gets, from 1 to 1 million, it's still a number. Does that make sense? Like this will always come alive. Does that make sense? Like a number is always a number, no matter what you do. Like an animal will always be an animal, no matter what. You can try to give it more love, whatever. It will always remain an animal. So a human string and an animal string is the same way, where it has to, like, time has to arrive, right? Time has to arrive. No matter, I know it sounds weird, like time has to arrive. Yes, it does. If it doesn't arrive, then you won't ever be born. This has to come to life. That's why it's born. Its only purpose is to come alive. That's why it's a rubber band and not a string. If it was a string, you stay dead. Like an animal string, you're going to stay an animal. Your purpose, your rubber band, your purpose of being formed is to start here, become this, become this. It's your purpose. Like time has a purpose. It has to arrive so that more things can arrive. Right? So it wouldn't be born if it didn't have a purpose. Understand? So nature knows I'm going to create this to become this, to become this. Or else I would not make it. A human will arrive. Nature knows this. A human will arrive. Just like time will arrive, nature knows that. It's like, oh, you're not here yet. But I know you're going to arrive. And I know your purpose. It's so that I can create this. Understand? Everything has a purpose. A string is not an accident. You only become a string so that you can become this, so that you become this. All right? I hope that makes sense. So maybe this is too hard for a string. Like, simplify. This is more of a string. And then it has dimensions to it with movement. And then it becomes this, the purpose of this. So like a baby, a fetus is born, like sperm and egg has a purpose. Sperm and egg comes together, so egg and sperm come together, creates a human. Same purpose. All right? So it's not sperm, egg, and then nothing. Then you don't need reproduction. Right? If sperm and egg comes together and you create nothing, then you wouldn't even need reproductive parts. So time arrives so that humans can arrive. Time arrives so that humans can arrive. All right? It's that simple.